with that?
I had no intention of saying anything but siding with this and saying that I had submitted my form and agreed to have the monument put up. But I believe I should say something. I'm just a 19-year-old evangelist that loves this country and loves this state. And I believe that I know God, and I know what has made this nation great from the time that it was founded. And it was God. It was the power of God and the will of God. And the Bible clearly states that a nation that forgets God will perish. And I believe it will turn into hell, is what the Bible says. And I love 2 Chronicles 7:14. It says, "If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves, seek my face, pray, turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sin, and will heal their land." And I believe if our land ever needed healing, it is today. And I don't believe that the commands that were given by God were given to us so we could hide them and only keep them in the confines of our house. But I believe that they were given to us to be declared and to be put out so that this world can see and so that this nation can see what this nation was founded on. We can look back at history and we can look back at what the men and women that founded this country stood for, and we can see the state that this country was in the days when it was governed by men that feared God. And I believe we can see that the state of our country then was far better than it is today. We can see George Washington, a man that knew God, a man that prayed to God, and we can also see a man that fought in battle. And guess what? He was victorious. We can see a man that had bullet holes through his jacket because he knew God, because he had God on his side. And I believe when we restore what God has meant for this nation and this state once again, then I believe this nation can come back to what it was. But only when we remember God, when we observe His commandments. You know, the Bible says that we are to be a city set on a hill that cannot be hid. This thing it's not meant to be put away, but it's meant to be declared. And I want to say one more thing, that I believe that this nation and this state would observe the Ten Commandments and live in it. Don't you believe this would be a much more peaceful nation? Don't you believe this would be a much more whole nation if there was no murder, thou shalt not kill, if there was no bearing false witness, if there was no backbiting, if every man loved his neighbor, if every man didn't covet what his neighbor had, if every man observed and done what the Ten Commandments say to do, don't you believe it would be to the bettering of this entire nation and to everybody in it? Thank you.
Next on the list, this time to speak against the proposal is